Great experiences build great leaders. Great leaders build great teams. This is Building Great Sales Teams.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Building Great Sales Teams podcast. I've got a local one for you today. Got a local gangster here from San Antonio. His name is Randal Rutledge. He's the host of the Move the Needle podcast and the owner of Rutledge Consulting LLC, as well as Rutledge Insurance Group LLC. And Randal is an award-winning health insurance agent, and he's built some pretty big sales teams in the space as well. He's an expert in leadership, building sales teams, culture, and personal branding. Randal, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you. I sure appreciate the introduction.
Absolutely, man. There's a lot on there, so we got to get into it all for sure. But what I want to ask you first is, you're fairly new to San Antonio. You just moved here from College Station, is that right?
That's correct.
Awesome. And so what do you think about San Antonio versus College Station so far? You got like ag in College Station, and you got like a strong Mexican culture here in San Antonio. You know what I'm saying? What's the transition like for you?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, absolutely love it. I'm from a small town, about 1,500 people originally. So I grew up driving 45 minutes just to get to the grocery store. And when I moved to College Station, that was a big city. It was 100,000 people there, and lived there for a few years, had an insurance office, essentially built that up. And with a small population, you can only do so much, in a small town. It's a college town. So eventually we decided, okay, we've got a good business. We just need a better market. We need a better territory. San Antonio stood out to me. It's the 7th largest city in America. It's a big city, but ultimately it's kind of like a big city of small towns and like small town vibes and people, small businesses. And so I said, hey, you know what? I'm just going to throw a dart. It doesn't snow there. Like, you know what I mean? I like the warm weather. So man, we got so lucky and so blessed. San Antonio has been, more than we expected, even better for us. And we're up on that northwest corner. We actually live in Bernie, and then office out of Chavano Park. So it's like you got the hill country, you got the big city. Right here by La Cantera, the Rim. There's all types of retail. So I don't have anything bad to say about it. And I thought College Station was like God's country. So I've been impressed.
No, I can imagine being up in Bernie. It's beautiful up there, man. But the land is not cheap, right? So it's a different kind of country. It's like a high-end country, I would say, for sure. Okay, so you enjoy the traffic on your way to the office every morning?
I do not.
Yeah, it's probably the only part.
I did. I actually toured 52 different offices before I signed the lease on the one I have now.
Okay.
And did a lot of work of figuring out where I wanted to live. How can I get to my office convenient? So I've got about a 15-minute commute. I cut through the Rim every day, so I never hit the loop, 1604.
Oh, wow.
So I actually cannot complain about the traffic a whole lot because I don't have to deal with it so much. And then when you work till 7, 8 o'clock at night, you don't have to deal with 5 p.m. traffic.
Absolutely, brother. So one of the things I noticed about your social media is pretty consistently you're sharing your faith, right? And so I was kind of curious about this because I've been doing that more and more as well. And how does your faith factor into your business, as well as your core values, and then of course your social media?
Of course, yeah. I mean, I used to try to stay away from that topic. Just because I feel like that's mainly what I was told, like stay away from politics and religion, and I've crossed the path from religion to faith, and it is a little bit different, and it's really hard for me to share my personal success or my story and not share my faith because they're so intertwined. And I know just from personal experiences, there's somebody out there that's looking out for me and trying to help me in my life. I've just seen it too many times where every bad thing that ever happened to me, it turned out to be a good thing as time passed on. And you start to acknowledge of, hey, this is not just all me, right? Somebody else is up there helping me. So I definitely share my faith on social media. It is, it's my secret superpower, if you will. I mean, when you have the belief that somebody's out there trying to do good for me, right? And means well for me and has a plan for me.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have the mindset of nothing happens to me, it happens for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Changes everything, because even when adversity hits, I'm able to say, hey, what are you trying to teach me, God? I know you're not trying to hurt me. I know
Yeah.
you're trying to help me and you're trying to teach me. And
Mm-hmm.
that mindset serves me very well. If you're going to be in sales and entrepreneurship, adversity is going to come. That's just part of the deal.
Yeah.
With my beliefs, I'm able to say, it's going to be okay. This is all going to work out. It always has. It always will. God's batting 1,000. He hits a home run every time. Why would I be scared he's going to miss the next pitch?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to be scared of. So having that faith gives you that confidence where I can step out into anything and just ultimately believe I'm going to win and I'm going to do good. And there's nothing for me to be afraid of. That comes from my faith.
I couldn't agree more. And it's one of those things when you're in it, it's hard to have that mindset, right? Especially if you're new to entrepreneur or being an entrepreneur or new to building, a 7-figure sales team. It is, you get down in the dumps a little bit. But then when you have that faith and you're able to say, hey, this is just God the same way you break down your muscles when you're in the gym, you know,
Yep.
he's got to put you through that. So then when you come out the other side, you can handle the success, you can handle the expansion plans, whatever they may be, and be able to stretch to what he needs you to stretch to basically further that success,
Mm-hmm.
And so I love it, brother. So let's kind of go back and talk about, you being from that small town, I would imagine most of the kids in that small town wake up and it's like farming, it's ag, it's being a cowboy, it's ranching, you know what I'm saying? It's maybe growing your own food, whatever the case is. It's not insurance, right?
Mm.
I mean, so how
No.
did you get into insurance and kind of tell us your journey there to where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Where I'm from, like, people don't do insurance, right? You
Hmm.
you have two options. You either go work at the coal mine or the power plant, or
Hmm.
you get into construction, right? There's really nothing else out there where I live, and so I fell into the construction side of things. So
Hmm.
didn't start out doing any type of business entrepreneurship. I'm naturally a very shy, introverted person, believe it or not,
Hmm.
and I was just floating through life doing construction. I actually did pretty well. I mean, I was making 6 figures and worked my way up to company truck, company credit card. I was a smart guy, so I was able to kind of move up in that industry.
That's the American
Um,
dream.
yeah, I got there and realized this sucks. I'm still middle class. I'm
Yeah.
still not rich. I'm still stressed about my bills. I'm not doing any better. I have a little bigger house, a little nicer car. I'm not doing better
Mhm.
than anybody else. I'm working a job I hate. I don't get any fulfillment from what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And I started just to look out and go, all right, if I do this for the next 20 years, A, where am I going to be? And B, am I going to be happy? And I said, no, I'm not going to be where I want to be, and I'm not going to be happy.
Right.
And the dollar goes down every day, the cost of living goes up every day. If my income, I've got a good job right now, but
Mhm.
if my income flatlines for the next 20 years, I'm going to get to the end of my career and be making less money than the day I started my career.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't sound like the American dream. So
Mhm.
I started doing some research. I started trying to figure out what's a different career path for me. How can you make a lot of money and have freedom? And everything that I researched, sales kept coming up.
Yeah.
And I hated that because I'm
I'm
shy
not
and
a
introverted.
salesman.
I'm not a salesman.
Yeah.
And, I had that picture of like an old used car salesman of you're
Yeah.
talking people into stuff they don't need. I had a very negative depiction of sales. And,
Mhm.
I started to realize one, sales skills are learned. You don't, pop out of your mother's womb with sales skills. So it's a
Right.
learnable skill that I can learn. And modern sales is not about talking someone into something. It's about really solving their problems. It's about
Mhm.
honesty and transparency, authenticity. It's about just being a real person. And so I said, I can do that. I can communicate. I can be authentic. I can tell the truth, right? I can do
Yeah.
that. And I started to change my mind of what sales was and essentially said if I want to have a high income and freedom and flexibility without a college degree, sales is the path. Sales is the way that I see I can make something of myself. And health insurance specifically, I actually bought an insurance policy and I just kind of liked the whole process. The guy was really good. He saved
Yeah.
me money. He got me better coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd sent him about 5 referrals and he called me and he said, "Hey, you ever thought about being in sales?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not a salesman."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Obviously you are. You send me a lot of referrals, right?" And I said, "Well, I believe in your
People
product."
trust you.
So I'm telling people about it and they trust me.
Yeah.
And he won me over and he said, "Randall, if," he's like, he straight up told me, he said, "I've made $5,000 in commissions off the people you sent me." And I said, "You made what? Off what I sent you?" And I said, "Okay." And he convinced me. He said, "You can do sales. Look, you're already doing it,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're already doing it. You're just not getting paid for it."
Right.
And my mindset started to change. And I jumped in. I quit my job. I, gave my truck back, gave my company credit card back, said, "Here's your salary. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to go bet it all on myself. I'm jumping into sales." I went and got my insurance license. I went and found a mentor, which is really, really important. I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. I didn't have to invent
Yeah.
something. I just went and found someone that was already successful in the
Mm-hmm.
industry I wanted to be in. And I plagiarized them. I copied them with their
Yeah.
permission.
Heck yeah.
And that's how I created my success.
No, I love it. I love every bit of it. One of my title on my Facebook page is Chief Problem Solver. You know, I feel like that's all sales really is solving the problem and having integrity along the way. So even
Yep.
if you're not the solution, you still help them solve the problem. They're going to come back to you for other things, or they're going to
Mhm.
refer other people to you that you can solve their problem, right? And so I think that's incredibly important what you said there. And then, yeah, kind of the eye opening journey of, hey, I'm already doing sales. It turns out that, I have that like and trust factor with all these people that I was able to refer to this insurance agent. And
Mhm.
so I'm already doing it, just by being somebody that everybody knows, likes, and trusts, right? So let's fast forward a little bit. I forgot how many people you told me in our connection call, but you had built out a team in college, a pretty substantial team in College Station. Let's talk a little bit about that and what it took to build out a team like that. And why do you feel like you ended up being the guy that did it versus, all the other agents that probably went through that office or that organization?
Yeah. Great question, Doug. And, I've had a great career in leadership, right? I've been able to help people, convert people, and take them from nothing to being successful. And I tried to identify a million times, like, how, because if
Mhm.
I'm being honest with you, a lot of it happened very naturally, right? I didn't
Okay.
have a lot of training, a lot of structure. I just did it naturally. And when I think about why I've been able to build such great sales teams, it really comes down to one word, and it's love. And as corny as it sounds,
Hmm.
we've already talked about my faith, but to
Yeah.
me, Jesus was the ultimate leader, right?
Hmm.
He was in a time when people walked around in flip flops. There
Yeah.
wasn't it wasn't Facebook or internet, and he was such a dynamic leader that to this day people scream his name and people follow him,
Hmm.
right? Thousands of years later with no technology. It's amazing. And so always tried to pull my leadership from those type of people, those dynamic leaders. But
Hmm.
I have something inside of me that says you have to love people, you have to help people, and you have to
Hmm.
give to them. And if you don't, you're being selfish, right? Like God blessed you with an amazing life, amazing career, amazing income, health,
Hmm.
everything that you could want in life is giving it to you. If you don't turn around and try to help someone else get that joy and happiness, it's like slapping God in the face and it's disrespectful. So I have this burning desire inside of me that I've got to give back, or like it's almost like I'm scared I'm going to lose like what I got. Like
Yeah.
I want
No.
lightning to come down and strike me or take away my blessings. I want to be able to bless others. And that approach, like, systems, processes, scripts, like there's so
Mhm.
many technology, CRMs, there's so many parts of sales, right?
Right.
But to me, like the number one thing is love. It's loving people, it's pouring into them, it's
Mm.
getting them to believe in themselves even when they don't believe in themselves. And just encouragement. People really need encouragement. They need positivity. They don't get it anywhere else. So my leadership style has just been love, 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 pour into these people, just build up their confidence and build up their self-esteem, and then let everything else kind of work its way, happen naturally.
And that makes a ton of sense. And that is a magnetic thing, right? I mean, that's honestly how we were built, to receive it and to give it, right? And so I guess what space do you use to do that? I mean, is it just in the one-on-one conversations every day? Do you like intentionally schedule time with your people? I mean, how do you make that connection where you can actually have a genuine conversation versus like talking to a room of your team, or over the phone or something like that? How do you schedule that?
Yeah, a little bit of both.
Mhm.
I think it comes down to, for one, being the example, being somebody that people can look up to.
Mhm.
If you don't have something that they want, they're not going to follow you, right? If they don't put you on a pedestal and go, man, I think Randall's awesome. Like, I want to be like Randall in some ways, not every way, but some
Right.
ways. I can't inspire them and I can't lead them, right? It is those one-on-ones, it's those interactions. I schedule personal conferences with every person in my sales team periodically, depending on what level you're at.
Mhm.
Obviously, the higher levels, I meet with them more frequently. The low levels, I meet with them less frequently as
Right.
the team has grown and scaled. But personal conferences, and then a lot of like outside stuff, just having fun. Like, a couple months ago, we took the whole team to Chicken and Pickle, right? And rented
Yeah.
out a bunch of pickleball courts and bought them a bunch of food and said, hey, y'all drink whatever y'all want. Bring your spouses, bring your kids.
It's funny.
Uh,
I've taken my team there before too.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like 2 miles from my office, so it's
Yeah.
really convenient. But those little things, they really mean a lot to people.
Mhm.
Simple things like swag, just buying them shirts, and then when they're new, like especially a new salesperson, they're not making a ton of money right at first, right?
Right.
They're trying to figure it out. So paying for their lunches, like, I mean, I got to the point where it's like, if you're around me, you're not paying for anything, right? I
Right.
remember being broke. I remember being a
Yes.
broke salesperson,
Yeah.
and I worked my ass off, so I'm not. And I didn't do it because I want money. I don't. What do I need money for, right?
Yeah.
You only need money to do a little bit of things, and after that, it's like, yeah, what am I going to do with it? I'd rather give it away, and it's going to bring more money to me back anyways. But buying them lunches, as silly as it sounds, taking them lunch, buying them lunches, that encouragement. But to answer your question, yes, I do schedule time, individual
Mhm.
time with my people.
No, I love that because I remember at the height of my head count, my meals and entertainment was like 5 to 8 grand a month. It was just
Yep.
crazy. Like, but I was like visiting every offices, taking the managers and the team out to lunch, and then the managers out to dinner. We did Cowboys games and all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
And unfortunately, I was a young business owner, so I wasn't paying attention to it. I just swiped the card. But I had someone on the podcast, Ibrahim Hussein, yesterday. He's the number one. He has a number one real estate team in Canada. They do like 400 million a year, and he says he allocates 7% of top line, not top line in terms of the real estate, but top line in terms of the commission revenue. He
Hmm.
allocates 7% to a culture line item, and it's all
Yep.
the things that you just went through right there. So he's got an actual number tied to it, which I think is incredibly smart, because then you don't get out of hand with it. You know what I'm saying? You have to stay in that budget. But
I'm definitely guilty of what you're talking about, because it's like, you want to do everything you can for them. You don't want to say
Mhm.
no, and then they get used to it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? They're like,
yeah,
are we getting this? Are we doing this? And it's
yeah.
like, whoa. But it can get out of hand. But I have like I said, I have my beliefs, right?
Mhm.
And one of my beliefs is that I don't need to worry. I don't need to stress. The world
Yeah.
works in mysterious ways.
Mhm.
God says to trust in Him with all your heart and not to lean on your own understanding, right? Sometimes it's not always going to make sense to me, but it's going to make sense to Him.
Right.
And so I always view those purchases, those investments, as, because I'm giving my money away freely, and
Mhm.
I have pure intentions and pure heart, that I actually want to help other people. I'm not doing it because look at me, or,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. I know where my heart lies. I have
Mhm.
confidence that when I spend that dollar, I'm going to get 10 in return, right? It's
I
going
love
to
it.
come back to me. So I love those investments. Culture's king, right? That's how you build a team. It's culture. It's pouring into people. It's loving them.
Okay. I want to ask a tougher question here because we're getting into this conversation. We're going a little further. I had some other questions, but I like where this is going because, I think it's a teachable moment for our listeners, right? Because a lot of them have sales teams. A lot of them are spending a bunch of money on taking them out to eat and do fun stuff and everything. And so, I would say at the height of my head count, I had this just ridiculous meals and entertainment bill, right?
Mm-hmm.
And come the end of the year, and I got my P&L at the end of the year, it was like 9% net, on almost 5 million, right? Which is still really good income, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but when I went to my partner and I showed him that, he was like, "What the hell?" he was a passive partner, and
Yeah.
so that's not a good net in general. If you don't know this already, you want to be around 15 to 20%, right? And this is outside of your salary or whatever you pay yourself as a consultant for your business. And so, and I could look back and I could see like, all right, we spent, like 150, almost 200 on meals and entertainment, and granted, we were looping a lot of stuff in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess how do you kind of create that line where, all right, this is me giving, but all right, now I'm not being responsible anymore. At what point do you kind of like check yourself a little bit? Do you have any systems for that?
I wouldn't say there's some type of exact science or process behind it.
Yeah.
I think the general understanding of I've got to put my life vest on first, right?
Right.
If my cup is not full, I can't pour into other people. So
Mm-hmm.
I've got to make sure my cup is full, my life vest is on first before I can even think about, going and help another individual. So
Yeah.
and that really comes from daily disciplines, doing what I know I need to do. If I do what I need to do on a daily basis, and I don't always do it, nobody always does what they're supposed to do, right?
Right.
But if I can do it majority of the time, I know the recipe and it works out for me. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
able to keep my cup full. I'm able to make sure it's always overflowing to other people. I feel like that's my life's mission. That's what I was put on this earth to do, was to be a
Mm-hmm.
leader and to help other people. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's so tied into my why of like why I'm here and why I do what I do that
Mm-hmm.
I don't have an exact science. I just don't try to overdo it. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
try to be a smart business owner with my
Mm-hmm.
finances, but I wouldn't say I have an exact. I don't do a percentage,
Right.
nothing like that.
I like what you're saying about, taking care of yourself first though, because I did during that time, I wore that cross, which to me was, oh, well, I need to make sure everybody's paid before I get paid. And like there would be times I would go 2 or 3 months without getting paid. Now, the 2 or 3 months before I'd done really well, so I was able to do that,
Hmm.
but that would be like with the tight circle of people, my VP of sales, my partner, and then maybe my wife and a few other people. I would tell, oh yeah, I haven't been paid in 3 months. This is the reality of being a business owner. And I would wear that
Hmm.
cross a little bit, and it was, looking back, it was pretty silly,
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, you can go take everybody to the Cowboys game, but you can't pay yourself your 100K salary, which is just silly,
Hmm.
and so I completely agree with what you're saying. As long as you're doing what you need to do, putting on your life vest first, making sure that your finances are taken care of, then it makes everything from there is abundance,
Of course.
So I love that. Okay, so what do you feel like? Well, let me ask you this first. What do you feel like is going to be kind of something that business owners need to adopt going into 2024? Pretty much if you haven't done it by the middle of this year, you're probably not going to be able to implement something real big, whether it's a new technology, social media, whatever the case is. What do you feel like is coming that people really need to start jumping on the bandwagon before next year?
Yeah, I mean, in our group that we kind of run in, we forget that not everybody thinks the same way that we
Right.
do, right? And the things that really you need to be focused on are really simple things. And for some of us, we've heard it 1,000 times. For some of us, we never heard it. But the two things that come to mind, like just pop in my brain when you ask me that question, it's
Mhm.
personal brand and it's artificial intelligence. It's AI,
Yeah.
right? I mean, just the way that the world has already been moving for a long time, but it's just
Mhm.
continuing to go to more of a social environment. And it doesn't matter if you own a plumbing company, a flower shop, a sales team, like you have
Mhm.
to have a presence online. You've got to build a personal brand. People buy from people, right? And they're
Mhm.
buying you, they're not buying your product. So in a digital world, the quickest way to get your name out there is on social media. So, tip number one is if you're not marketing yourself constantly on social media, you got to, right?
Yeah.
There's a saying, I can't remember who says it, but it's like the best dentist in town doesn't make the most money. The most known dentist in town makes the most money, right? And
100%.
life's not all about making money, but that's what business is about. And you got to be known out there.
Mhm.
And then with artificial intelligence, it is here. It is going to change things, and there's not much we can do to stop it. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's going to be a good thing. I
Yeah.
like to live in the world of positivity, and I just want to learn as much as I can about artificial intelligence to learn how it can improve my life, improve my business. I feel that those that call it like, they're like, oh, that's witchcraft or that's stupid or, you know, people with those
I hadn't
mindsets.
heard the witchcraft one yet. That's okay.
I'm from the country, dog. So
Oh,
like,
that's right. That's right.
you know what I mean? These people are like, what? It can do what? But those people, those mindsets,
My
I think
producer's laughing now.
they're gonna get left behind. You got to stay up on technology,
Yeah.
and artificial intelligence is one part of technology, but you got to stay up on tech, and you got to build a personal brand on social media.
I couldn't agree more. It's basically building that personal brand has changed my whole business model to where I went from running my own sales teams to consulting on building sales teams, and there's not a day I don't get up and am like crazy excited to meet with a
Hmm.
client, to present them with something I've built for them, or to do podcasts like this with you. I never thought I would be able to live this life that I'm living now. And it's not easy, right? That transition is not at all easy, but it started off really strong because I had built my brand over the last 2 years. And it was,
Hmm.
you know, the the sub point I would make on building your personal brand is don't make it about necessarily the sale of your product. Make it
Hmm.
about giving value, make it about giving knowledge around the product, you know, and then those sales will come. They'll look at you as the authority around that product. And also they won't look at you as a taker constantly, hey, this is my product, this is my product, this is my product. That's exhausting, right?
Yeah.
I like the cadence of, a post about personal life, family, personal growth, post about the business in general entrepreneurship, and then a post about maybe your specific product or what it does or the benefits of it, whatever the case is, right? I think that can be huge. But the second part is massive too. I noticed, and I'm just guessing here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but especially on your LinkedIn, I noticed that maybe that was AI, LinkedIn posts.
Right now, almost a lot of it is.
Yeah.
I have a new social media manager that
Hmm.
is he's kind of learning the ropes, and I'm letting him learn the hard way because that's
Yeah.
the only way to learn. But yeah, essentially what we're doing is we're working on essentially building a chat GPT persona that
Right.
can learn me. It can learn
Yeah.
how I write, it can learn my personality type and essentially help replicate, right? What we started with trying to let ChatGPT kind of do a lot of the work.
Hmm.
It's not quite the technology is not quite there yet. You still have to do it. We've kind of. It's funny you say that because I just went to him last week and I was like, "Hey, no more. I'm gonna write every post because I can tell it's artificial intelligence. Other people
Yeah.
can tell it's AI."
Well, okay, to be fair, the person you're speaking to probably can't. You know what I'm saying? I'm in the groups with you. We're talking about it all the time. I'm testing it out myself on different things. And so that's a very trained eye versus, someone in the general population probably wouldn't know. They would just say, "Hey, it sounds really smart and informative," and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
People that know me, they're like, no, he don't write that way.
yeah, exactly.
You can't hardly get a text back from me. I'll talk to you all day long on the phone. I love talking.
Mhm.
I'm not a texter. I'm not a typer.
Yeah.
It'll take me an hour to write a Facebook post, and I'm going to misspell every word. So
I do. I take a lot of pride in my writing now, and my grammar, my punctuation is terrible. So that's what I use Chat GPT for. I'll drop the
yes,
post in there and then I'll let it fix all that. And then I'll double check it. I've tried to create that persona. And there's going to be some, like you said, it's going to have to mess up a few times. You're going to have to give it some grace as you're going through it. But right now we just use it for like comments and then, podcast posts. The things that are very, systematic, we'll use it for that.
hmm
And we'll comment in the groups and drop a podcast in the groups. My VAs will use it for that. I know Ryan's utilizing it in the production and the show notes and stuff like that. So that's going really well. But as far as my personal posts, like on Facebook and Instagram, we don't really, that all comes from me and it just corrects grammar and punctuation, which
yeah,
if you're putting out as much content as we are, like as long as it's a mix of you and, AI, I think it's going to be a strong showing either way.
of course.
So I would agree with you 100% these are the things that definitely need to happen in your business right now if they're not happening already.
Yeah. And
So
like you
you,
said, it's not real hard to write your thoughts and get
hmm
your authentic thoughts out,
hmm
and then say, "Hey, Chat GPT, can you help me, structure this a little better, spell the
yeah,
words a little better, put the commas where they're supposed to go, use the
yeah.
right there,
I didn't
like
know you were supposed to use so many commas.
I don't use commas or periods or nothing." So
Okay, so recently you've made the move into consulting, and this is more of the conversation we had when we connected. And what I love about it was very much like it was for me. It was very organic. Like you had
mhm,
people come to you and say, "Hey, I need help," right? And then the next person came, and then you know, I'll let you tell the story.
yeah, I mean that's essentially how it went. It started
Hmm.
out just, "Hey, can you help me with this? Let's hop on a Zoom call." Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
help anybody. I'll give my time away for free. I'll give my money away for free. That's just my personality. And I started to, well, a couple of things happened. For one, I started to realize like I'm giving too much time away, and
Yeah.
I owe this time to other people. It's
Right.
not just my time. And in order to take this time away from one person or one organization, I got to start charging for this time. I just
Hmm.
can't give it away for free. The other thing that happened was I had it in my mind that I'm really good at insurance, right?
Hmm.
And because this is what I did. And when I started to venture out, I started to help other people in other different businesses, and I realized that I wasn't good at insurance. I was good at business. I was good at
Yeah.
sales, and I happened to be in insurance and business and sales. It's universal. Like the same principles work in almost every single business. So all I did was take the principles that I used to build my businesses, I would give those same principles to other people. And they started having tremendous success in their business.
Yeah.
Even had some successful consult for equity deals, which are really nice because they couldn't afford to pay me, but I was like, hey, we'll work out a deal. I'll help you, grow the company, and
Right.
I want a X percentage. And I realized, wow, that is a fantastic business model
Yeah.
because it's easy to sell. You don't cost anything at all, and you're
Yeah.
only charging them if you make them money. So it's a win-win, right? And there's a lot more upside than me
Hmm.
charging you $1,000 for an hour,
Yeah.
right? A lot more upside. So that opened my eyes to, okay, I didn't really want to be a consultant, right?
Hmm.
Because I don't want to be on Zoom calls all day,
Right.
but I like business and I like growing businesses. So that's kind of where I got my step into consulting, and then it's kind of grown there. I mean, I still to this day I have not posted on social media about my consulting business.
Yeah.
It's all word of mouth. It's all organic.
Hmm.
I just let it come very naturally. Find businesses that I align with, and then I give them my time in exchange for money or services, and I love it. It's very rewarding.
No, I can imagine because, if you're anything like me, I'm a bit of a starter. I love starting stuff. Even though
Yep.
I had the same business model for 13 years, like I got to start like campaigns within that model, and I'm sure you got to sell different products, write new scripts, create new systems and stuff like that. And so I love the starting, right?
Hmm.
But I'm not a big finisher. I'll set up systems, I'll set up training, and let somebody else finish it, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's what I love about it too. Every time I get on a kickoff call with a client, it's like we're starting something brand new, you know. And so it's a lot of fun for
It's
sure.
exciting. You got all that energy,
Hmm.
and it's you get to see a lot of growth, right, from a brand new business, and you can take them off the ground, and it's beautiful to see.
Yeah, I was meeting with a family in Waco last week, and they own a AC company, and it just like you said, like it's a consulting for equity deal. So they were like, "You kind of made us an offer we can't refuse, you know, like we don't
Yeah,
lose, and the only way we pay anything is if we win." It's like, yeah, that's
that's
about
it.
it. Yeah. But I mean, my upside is huge, you know, compared to, you know, a one-time 10K or 25K consulting fee, you know.
Yep.
And it's not that I'd rather have those deals. I got to pay the bills, you know, but when I see that business that I'm like, I know I can make a massive impact here, then I'm
Hmm.
like, I'm going to jump in for equity on that because they're not going to get that anywhere else, you know,
Hmm.
without paying up front, you know. And then there's huge risk in that too, you know, it's just like marketing
Yeah,
companies and stuff. You pay them up front, you don't know if they're going to deliver the leads or not, right?
done
So,
that many times.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm really blessed that I broke out in insurance. So my mind works very much in residual income, in
Hmm.
long-term outcomes, and building relationships, and slow money. Which, you say slow money, and people are like, "Why do you like slow money?" I love slow money, right?
Hmm.
Because fast money, easy come, easy go.
Yeah,
I want my money to come in slowly but surely, and increase and compound over time. So I took those principles of how I made money in my insurance business, and I saw the power of residual income. Right? I didn't get rich
yeah,
overnight. I got rich over time and kept growing my income. And so then once I had residual income, I'm not desperate to make sales or to make money. And
right.
so that translates to a lot of success in all my other business ventures because I can start a company that I don't need to make money, right?
Yeah.
And when you have a company that you don't need it to make money, you have a lot more upward mobility, you have a lot more chance of success
Hmm.
because you're detached from the sale, so to speak.
Right.
You don't need it as much, so it comes to you easier. And I like to take those principles of residual income that I learned through an insurance business, and I try to structure my business deals that way. And
Makes sense.
it gives people easier to get in, like a lower entry fee, right?
Hmm.
But with a longer, payment plan or longer money in the future is typically how I like to kind of structure my deals.
It's so funny. So much of what I teach on is what not to do because I've done a lot of what not to do. And so my whole business model was the upfront commission before, you know what I'm saying? And so I may have sold, you know, 5,000, 6,000 customers in my lifetime with my organization, but I don't get paid a dollar of them now. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so just a testament to what you just said, I couldn't agree with it more. You've got to create, even if you are, let's just say a door-to-door sales company, you've got to create a residual income, even though you're only making that upfront sell. At this point, I'd rather take a lower commission on the front end for the residual on the back end, especially if it's a service-based model, you know?
Hmm.
And so couldn't agree more. So what's next for you and your family? What are you guys getting into right now? Are you starting a family? I can't remember. Did we talk about kids at all?
No kids that I know of, and that's just a joke,
Don't
guys.
say that.
Yeah, I'm just playing. No kids. Lovely girlfriend. Definitely a future partner.
Hmm.
We're still building that and working on that.
Hmm.
We both do business. We're both entrepreneurs. So right now, our key focus is growing our businesses,
It's
stacking
massive.
money, helping people, and when the family comes. Right.
Hmm.
My faith is coming back, but God's going to make me a father when he's ready to make me a father. And I can't wait for that day. But until then, I've got to prepare to be that man, right? Because I
Hmm.
don't have kids right now, but one day I will. And I want to be somebody that they can be proud of. And the more work I can do on myself, the more work I can do within my businesses between now and then, I feel like I'm setting myself up to have that family, be a better, parent, um, and give my kids a chance of success. So, family right now, but it's definitely in the future and in the plans. And it's a big reason. It's a big part of why I work so hard, why I do what I do,
Hmm.
is because, yeah, I don't have kids right now, but I know I'm gonna have kids. So it's like
Yeah.
you got to get ready now.
Hmm.
Because all my friends, they had kids young, and I saw them struggle and saw them not be able to chase their dreams. I saw,
Hmm.
well, I got to have this salary job because I got
I
mouths to
got
feed
mouths to feed. Yeah.
and I can't take any risk. And I said, well, now's the time. I gotta take a risk while I don't have kids, and get out of that status quo, if you will. That's the way my brain works, and that's just
Hmm.
kind of what I'm doing.
I always had an extreme mindset when I was younger. I owner financed my current business when I was 23 and had just had my daughter. She was 3 months old and had only made 30 grand a year before that. So my wife's like, don't do it. Like
You're
we got,
crazy.
yeah, you're crazy, And I couldn't fathom failure. You know what I'm saying? I was
Not
just
possible.
the most optimistic dude ever. But there's so many things that like I wish I had a lot more personal growth before I had kids, which I think is going to set you up really well when you do have kids. You're going to be a phenomenal father because you've worked on yourself since you started your business to now, you know what I mean? And all that growth is going to serve you well as a parent. So, um, again, what not to do.
That's kind of how we learn as humans. And
Mhm.
I tell all of my people like that because they see me and they think, oh, you're successful and you're this and you're
Right.
that, right? And it's like, guys, you don't understand. I used to be 265 pounds. I was overweight. I was
Mhm.
addicted to alcohol. I had terrible relationships. I didn't take care of myself. I
Mhm.
ate terrible food. Mentally, I would just destroy myself and self sabotage all the time.
Mhm.
Right? I've had terrible credit. I've been to jail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not proud to say that, but I've just done so many things that like that's how I figured out what not to do, like you said.
Mhm.
And you go, well, that hurt. I don't want I don't want to do that again. How do I avoid this pain I'm feeling now?
Mhm.
And slowly but surely, I messed things up so bad that I was able to fix things at the same time. And it was through failure, it was through adversity, it was through falling on my face that I've gotten to
Mhm.
where I'm at. And you know, nobody's immune to that. Nobody's special. We're all just regular human beings out here.
Mhm.
But if you put one foot in front of the other, work on yourself, and you're constantly just working on improvement, and your sales are pointed in the right direction, right?
Right.
I might not be moving the right speed, but if I'm moving in the right direction, eventually I'm going to get to my destination. I'm going to get to my goal. So I finally got serious about life and said, where do I want to go? What do I want to accomplish? Who do I want to become? I
Mhm.
got that vision locked in, and I said, I'm going to go, right? I don't know what the road looks like. I don't know what it's going to be. I just know I'm not happy with where I'm at, and I want to do something. I want to have a different experience. And if I want things to change, I've got to change, right? And if I want
Mhm.
different results, I got to do different stuff. So I just started doing different stuff, believing in myself, working on myself, moving forward, taking a lot of risks, like you said. That's one of my superpowers, I believe, is I will take a risk, and
Yeah.
I believe it's going to work out. And it doesn't always work out, but you know, if I take 10 risks and 9 of them backfire, but one of them is an absolute home run, right? I'm going to end up at a
Mhm.
net positive. So as long as you don't over risk everything and you don't go crazy on the risk, you can
Right.
take calculated risk and move up in life. And that's how I've done it.
And then you don't have to take the losses so personally either, because you got to plan for the wins, and they cover
Mhm.
the losses, right? All right, brother. Last question. This one's a little deeper. What does legacy mean to you, and what legacy do you want to leave behind?
It's a great question. I think to me, legacy just means like, I guess for me, I don't want to be a person that just lived here on earth and passed away and that was it, right? I believe you get one shot, one opportunity. Yes, that's an Eminem reference. Uh,
Close. Yeah.
but you get one life, and we get to decide how we want to spend that life. We get to decide who we are, what we look like, how we dress, who we spend that time with, how we give back to others, our impact. And so I want to be a person that is very intentional. I want to be a person that I can honestly look back in my life and say, hey, I didn't just live my life for me. I lived it for other people. I gave it my all. I left it all on the line. I left it all on the field, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave it my best. I might not be perfect. Nobody's perfect. I'm not Jesus Christ, but
Mm-hmm.
I can say I went out there and I tried hard. Right. And then as far as leaving a legacy for others, obviously, just like most people, I didn't grow up with having money or having,
Right.
great relationships or a lot of guidance. And so when you go through that, it's a blessing because it harden you up and teaches you, how to navigate this world. So I'm very thankful for the adversity I had when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, even though I value that adversity, I don't want my kids to go through that. I think that's a
Right.
normal thing. And you know, Ed Milet talks about being the one for your family, being the one
Mm-hmm.
person that is going to change that trajectory. And every family, every bloodline, somebody had to make a sacrifice to put that family ahead and get them ahead where they have family land. And you know what I mean? I didn't grow up with stuff like that, but they
Mm-hmm.
have family land and family money, and your name actually means something. So, for me, I think that I was already probably working on that, but I heard that message from Ed Milet, and it struck a chord in my heart. And I looked around and I said, who else is going to do it? I was like,
Yeah.
nobody in my family is going to do this but me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to me. I've got to make it happen or it's not going to happen. And I want to leave a legacy for my last name, for my bloodline. I want my family to be proud of me. I want my ancestors to go, hey, your great, 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 great grandfather was an amazing man, did some amazing things, helped a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
and passed this information down through our family where we were taught good information,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm sure most people where I wasn't taught how to navigate this world or how to make money or how to do a lot of things, and I had to learn the hard way. And I want to be able to pass that information down through my
Mm-hmm.
bloodline so they can navigate this world a lot easier and a lot better because they know the rules of the game. And financially, if you can leave a legacy that way as well, obviously that can help you. So to me, that's what I'm here to do. I wasn't here just to screw off or pay bills or work. I was here to make a difference. I'm here to make an impact. And you get one life, and you just go out there, you do the best you can to try to help other people and leave a legacy.
I love it, brother. I appreciate you sharing that with us. I appreciate you coming on the show. I feel like this is a small piece. You know what I mean? You've just impacted a lot of people, a lot of listeners on this program right now. So it's just a small piece, and I'm thankful that I got to be a part of that for sure. So I want to thank you for coming on the show here. And if anybody wants to reach out, maybe they're interested in coaching or consulting or joining your team on the health insurance side, where can they do that at?
So easiest way to find me is just randalrutledge.com, and it's Randall with one L, Randal. If you're watching the screen, my name's right there on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
But randalrutledge.com is probably the easiest way. And then on social media, Facebook is by far the platform that I'm most I'm on Facebook most often, so that's the best place to reach out to me there, whether it's a follow, a DM, whatever it is. I mean, I generally love people, and if were impacted by this, I would love to hear that.
Yeah.
As a content creator, and I know you know this, Doug.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can put out content, and nobody says anything, and then every few months you have somebody go, "Hey, you changed my life," right? And that
Mm-hmm.
gives me the motivation to keep going. So
Yeah.
shoot me a DM, connect with me any way you want to. I'd love to chat with you, but just randalrutledge.com is probably the best way to figure out all the businesses that I do, how to get in contact with me. That's kind of my hub, if you will, where I kind of house everything.
Awesome, brother. Well, I want to thank you again for coming on the show and look forward to meeting you in person.
Absolutely, Doug. I sure appreciate it. We're right here in each other's backyard. So
Yeah.
I'd love to it.
All right, brother. Let's get building.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Building Great Sales Teams podcast. We really do appreciate it. As you know, we believe that great leaders build great teams. How do you become a great leader? You learn from the greats. Join us at the $1 Million Mastermind put on by Ryan Stewman in Frisco, Texas, and learn everything that you need to learn to be that great leader. The link will be in the description below. As always, we ask that you like, share, and subscribe wherever you consume podcasts so you can stay up to date with the Building Great Sales Teams podcast. Let's get building.